Peace, family. This is your boy Gerald. It is the 18th of November, which will be the 19th for you because I am 6 hours behind. Hawaii is 6 hours behind from Eastern Standard Time. But nonetheless, the message will reach the intended heart, intended mind, as it's always been. Why? Because you are blessed. So, this has been an interesting week, has it not? You've got media focusing on a lot of court uh, court cases going on that will have a ripple effect if justice is not upheld. Because justice should be blind, it should be impartial, and it should always be about truth. And then, with that, we're dealing with the untimely loss of rapper entertainer Young Dolph, who unfortunately his life was cut short yesterday. And for some of you that are fans of his music, my heart goes out to you. All the while, we're in the middle, still dealing with the pandemic and the effects of the variants known as COVID. All the while, when you peel all that to the side, you still have decisions being made congressionally that will affect your life in some capacity, um, in some indirect way. You're going to feel the effects. So, with that being said, there's a lot of attempted focus on what matters to you that played out this week. So, with that being said, let me first throw this out. This video is protected by the U.S. Copyright Law 107, which protects all sole proprietorship and sole proprietorship of media assets therein. This is for critique, educational purposes, and thereof. So, just in case someone says, hey, I thought I heard something, blah, blah, blah. Hey, it's Fair Use Act. And I'm just throwing that out on top. I just wanted to throw this disclaimer out, family, because one thing that I used to do when I embraced my spiritual walk, I always leaned on music. It was always, I really believe that the Most High will use anything at His disposal to reach your attention. And in the intended time and moment, it will be revealed. Now, the kicker is, will you be willing to receive it? For some, that can be daunting. For some, this could be a point where you're actually, from your mental state, you might think you're losing your everlasting mind because you would say to yourself, the music is talking to me, which would actually have the same effect if proverbially you heard someone say, or you ran into you through your day, you kept hearing the same sentiment being echoed. Like I said, if you hear something 3 times, it's meant for you to receive. There's a reason for it. There's a reason why things are being shown to you in that way. Why? Because that is your impact moment, or that is the moment you are supposed to heed what is being offered. And usually, when you look at life, before there is a moment that we fall down, there's always a moment that happens before, or what we call as the preamble effect. There's always something that will play out before the proverbial rug is pulled from under you. So, you know, and I really believe the examples are used, that the Most High uses, will be the things that you deem as a passion, something that you unconditionally love. And a lot of times it's those things that we don't speak on, but really when you look at it, it's your natural spiritual gifts and talents that you were born with the moment that you took your first breath. Who am I talking to? So, right off the bat, I had, first of all, thank you. Um, I have been kind of subtly putting it out in the videos as of late of my intent in regards to my channels and my direction. And I mentioned that one of the things I plan on doing is I want to find a way that I can go live, because I feel like a sparrow that wants to spread my proverbial wings, but I can't because I don't have enough subscribers. So for those who are new, thank you for subscribing. For those who have been with me for a very long time, there are no words that I can convey of my gratefulness for your support. But rules are rules, and I don't have 1,000 subscribers, and I need that. So, as an alternative, I have considered other platforms as an option that I will utilize. One of them is through Vimeo, Vimeo. I have an account there, and the other is Patreon, which shouldn't be new, because for a lot of your creators that you may follow, 9 times out of 10 they have a Patreon account and they charge a surf fee. Well, I know that Patreon affords you an opportunity to go live. Yeah, there's a surcharge to do it monthly. However, it still allows you access. So, with that being said, I'm going to throw this out. Go ahead and subscribe now. Just on GP. Go ahead. Look me up on Patreon. Gerald Davis, GeraldDavis. I'm in there. Subscribe to that. You want to get it right now while it's on the bottom basement right now, because I'm not charging anybody. But I'm going to tell you right off the bat, though, a lot of the new content is going to go there, and you're going to be missing out. You're going to miss out because you'll be able to see, number one, you'll see another facet of who I am. Because listen to make no bones about it. The person that you hear is what you get. I'm the same person. And yes, even though a lot of times I'm using my cell phone, my Samsung Note. I've always been a Samsung guy. And some of y'all who've been with me for a while can remember the days of the laptop when I was in my apartment with my trusted companion Tyson, my bully. So if you look back, 2012 and through 2015, a lot of that footage was when I had my apartment in Virginia Beach, and it was just he and I. And one of the things I enjoyed was I loved making videos with music in the background, because music stimulates my thought. And a lot of times, depending on what was randomly played, it would actually spark more in-depth thought to make the point because I felt it. I felt it. It was just a synergy. Some may call it synchronicity, but I was in that vibe. So tonight I felt a little off tilt, so to speak, because when it comes to music, music is my second love. My first love is the Most High, because the moment that I focus on something greater than myself, the one with many names, my life was made new. And as for some of you who have heard me echo this, that used to be like a riddle in my spirit. Can a man be made new? And yes, is when you place the Most High in front of your steps. Everything that you once were will fall from you. That is why when you look at experiences, you look at connections, when you look at relationships and bonds, you look at where you are today compared to where you were, and you'll come to see that the ones that mattered most, the ones that had your best interests, you both are in tandem. You're both together because they see who you really are, but they match it by the behavior that they represent for themselves. So with that being said, that is actually a form of what we know as agape, unconditional love. They love you more than you can ever imagine, even if it costs them to not have access to you ever again in life, because they love you that much. They want you to go forth. And with that being said, that is why people come into your life. You've heard the parable. I've always echoed it. People coming into your life for a reason, season, or a lifetime. Well, the end goal is a lifetime. The end goal is your story. And not everybody is going to be afforded the right to know it. And I know that can be a bitter pill for some to wrap that around their head, because I know some of your pain that you've been carrying is the bond and friendships that you may have had in your childhood at your lowest point. And you just said, if I could just go back in time just to see how so-and-so is doing, if I could just have 5 minutes just to reach and connect and just say, hey, how you doing? But because the Most High genuinely has nothing but unconditional love, you have to go through some growing pains. And those growing pains require you to tap into yourself. Those growing pains require you to embrace what we know as critical thinking. Yes, when we're young, we go through a period of from being naive and emotional to logical and cerebral. And that has a price, because the more you focus on yourself, the more your foundation is formed, the more you're able to understand not only your self-worth, but the uniqueness of your voice. Who am I talking to? Well, I got this feeling somebody is emotional right now. And you're like, I'm tired of these tears flowing. Why doesn't someone understand me? Why don't they get me? Why is it I seem like I'm on this hamster wheel of disappointment, and all I want to do is figure myself out so I can make the logical decision, not only for maybe yourself, directly, but the connections that will come from it, the ones that you have yet to identify, because guess what? This is a process. So let's just change the paradigm. You might be in that situation where you say, well, you know what? I'm tired of going to sleep dreaming about being somebody's wife. Or I'm tired of spending daydreaming about what my wife will look like. When am I going to meet Mrs. Right, Mr. Right? Why does it seem like I only run into Mr. Right now or Mrs. Temporary? You know, your life is not like a animated Scooby-Doo special, and you're just waiting to get through the gauntlet of challenges just to pull the proverbial mask off to find out that they never cared. You know why most people don't care, but they want to latch on to you? You know why? Because it distracts them from themselves, because they realize that they never cared about themselves either, to put themselves in harm's way. Who am I talking to? So we're in an environment where we're being oversaturated on the intellect, but we're delinquent when it comes to the affairs of the heart, the emotional. Why is it so hard to have a conversation? But you know damn well, you know that is long overdue. Some of you have this emotional wound, and you've been racking your brain to say, well, why won't they sit down? Why can't I talk to them on the phone? Why can't we have this conversation that they know I need? You've even gotten to the point of strategizing your approach, to the point that you even practice in your mind what you would say. And that was progressional, because you had to get from the emotional aspect, because at first, when you first thought about it, you was like, I don't want to go to jail, especially what they did. I don't know if I can be responsible to have enough self-control. But what was the price paid? Sleepless nights? Or choices made because they were done by impulse? Who am I talking to? Or let's really go there. You need to have this discussion because secretly you came to the realization you've been living your life on autopilot, because you never were afforded the guidance or mentorship by way of influence, and you truly got to a point of believing nobody gave a damn. Let me be the first one to tell you, the devil's a liar. He almost fooled you too. You're not taking care of yourself. You're not, it's the little things. You're not drinking water, you're not taking your multivitamin, you're not eating right. But see, that is all nothing but a byproduct of the social narrative. Don't invest in you, but focus on us. Yeah, that's what you do, because as long as you focus on us, the probability of you digging deep in your pocket is great. But what is priceless is the access you have afforded them Because deep down inside, no matter what is being offered or ransomed, what is priceless is required and only given by way of truth. Who am I talking to? And you went through this rebellious phase. You got to a point that you would proverbially wear your emotions on your sleeve, and depending on the day, that would trigger you to how you were going to navigate the rest of it. If someone wasn't coming correct, like you thought like you wanted, notice I said wanted, not needed, you might end up in the arms of a stranger. I'll show them because I'm the captain of my ship. And what I can't get from them, I'll get from them. Only to regret it later on. Queen, did you know that your life is represented on earth in multiple ways? Just like the snowflake, if you're able to see one, it is the same that reflects you. Just like a flower, even though they look the same, the fragrance has a certain signature, but the petals are ever so fragile. So that's why it has to be cultivated. It has to be nurtured. It has to be given the proper nutrients called time and commitment for it to properly flourish. Who am I talking to? But you know what your biggest trick? Wow. I was going to say your biggest trick you're going to have to pull? No. The biggest challenge you're going to have to champion. You know what it is? It's having the ability to have that conversation with yourself. But that can't be fulfilled until you take the pain out of the conversation. Doesn't mean it doesn't have to be acknowledged, because that's where accountability plays out. But if you're able to allow your mind to be still, understanding will come, but you will also be introduced what we call temperance. It's a beautiful thing to see, because it is the ultimate form of self-control. And you know what's next to self-control? The doorway to self-worth. You don't have to believe me. Just look at that reflection in the mirror and tell me that is not worth it. I'll wait. Do you not realize from the top of your hair follicle down to your feet, there's no one other like that? But if you allow the naysayers or the people in the cheap seat that are outside your door, that are in your reality to tell you other, they will make sure that you are forever blind emotionally. Why? Because it's a form of control. But see, none of that can be understood until there's a willingness to acknowledge your presence of your existence. None of that will make sense until you're willing to acknowledge the placement of all things called your life story thus far. Do you realize it takes more courage to hold on or to embrace awareness of self than it does to show courage. Because a lot of people that want to pump their chest, they do that as a tactic to convince you that they are bigger or stronger than they are. That's why you hear it in conversations when there's discord. They will tell you, you better not come out your mouth sideways. I'm going to do this. You better not come over here. I'm going to do that. But if you turn around and ask them a question, or what I would like to say, the affair of the heart, why you feel this way, and their position of how it was, they emotionally self-destruct. They quickly choose a position of deflection than ownership. Who am I talking to? I'll show you. I'll show you. Only to end up on a road to more despair, or worse, a stolen night of passion where love does not exist. That's why one night stands, they're intense, but they all end up the same way. Non-accountability. Who am I talking to? So, why is it in 2021 so many people are afraid to have the conversations that they need? It's easy for people to say, I love you, but they have a problem demonstrating that. Because the best demonstration of love is shown through their behavior. Who am I talking to? Well, Gerald, that sounds nice. But I knew he was a dog. But if you knew he was a dog, why'd you give him time of day? You can't say, oh, I was impaired, because guess what? There's that thing called free will, and everybody knows that word called no. But we live in a world where people want what they don't have. And they know that. Oh, am I scratching too? Am I scratching? Am I getting around that sore spot? You know why it's sore? Because underneath that wound is a whole lot of love that's going to heal that the moment that you acknowledge it is hurt. That's why you've got people walking around that are aging, that they have an accelerated, they're aging before their time. You got 20-year-olds looking like they're 50, stressed out and disheveled, but they justify it as, I'm trying to do the best I can. Well, the best thing you can ever do is seek clarity. Because when you decide to seek clarity, guess what happens? Peace of mind. Can't put a price on that. But it's so hard to hold on to. Why? Because it requires truth. So the real question is, why do you not think you deserve to be at peace? But society is convinced the typical person, it's easier to be feared than loved, or use materialism to make up or shore up what they lack. Yeah, I know. He don't care, but he got a whole lot of money. I'm just gonna play my part. I'm gonna go for the bag. That's what you hear all the time. It's about the money. I coined the phrase money grab. You know, I said this ain't nothing but an attempted money grab. You hear people all over the net using that term, but it's true because anything that is not earned is stolen. So why does it? Who? Why is your heart one of the things being wagered? Why is it that the price is like you're being ransomed emotionally? And then depending on how long the emotional sentence has become, some have actually probably embraced Stockholm Syndrome. You know what Stockholm Syndrome is? That means you become empathetic on your oppressor. Well, maybe you know, I wouldn't have this. I wouldn't have these bruises on me if I had done this, or if I moved like that. First of all, love don't hurt. But respect goes both ways, even if it means removing yourself from the environment. That's why you used to always hear me say, it's your responsibility to get out of their way so you can see the road you were supposed to be on initially. You're not supposed to settle. That's why you would always hear me say, Queens, stop looking for your kings. Prepare for them. But if he doesn't know his purpose, he will not know his direction. If he doesn't know his direction, 9 times out of 10 is because he has yet to form a relationship with himself first. So how can he be properly, uh, how can he properly lead by example when he doesn't know himself? You realize how many people, I'm trying so hard to pick the words, but I gotta reach the person that needs to hear this. That's why there's no benefit in being sexually manipulated. Gerald, you don't understand. She got a body that just don't quit. And when I get her alone, behind closed doors, she turns into somebody that makes me feel like my toes curl. You know that's a learned behavior, right? You do know that, right? Just like you hear people say, hurt people hurt people. I've never heard someone say, I am in a committed relationship and I have my happy ever after, but it was a road filled with pain. What? What? No. Or here you hear this. Well, I just didn't want to be by myself, so I made some concessions. You know, he only understand. He the only one that understand me. And then the option or the notion of you deserving something better, you won't even entertain that because you have been convinced if I can't physically control it or if it's something I can't tangibly have control by touching it, the aspects of if it's real, I won't believe it can, So you already disenfranchise yourself. You already have given concession to stunt or add longevity to the discord that's in your life. Well, you don't understand. He's crazy. You know why most times you hear about when abuse is exhibited from a man, when the man's the abuser? You know why that happens a lot of times? And I hate to say this, but it's the truth. Usually, when you see behaviors being exhibited such as that, that person knows there's no male influence in the female's life. So guess what? They don't have to use risk management. They don't have to worry about, well, you know what, if I actually act out on my on my emotions and I wring her damn neck, there's not what they gonna do. Ain't no guys in her family. There's no male influence there. She ain't got no brothers. She ain't got no uncles because if the paradigm had shifted, you realize how much he would think before that? I better not put my hands on her. Look, I'm just gonna leave because if I break a fingernail on her, I'm about to deal with her brothers. And let's be honest, that's why so many of the male populace today are walking around with that 5 pound weight on their hip because they're scared to take an ass whooping, which means they're afraid to logically make the decision what is best for them. Oh no, I can't leave her. I can't leave her because most men, the first insecurity that kicks up to the forefront is somebody gonna be sleeping with my girl, but she's not your girl. She can never be your girl because she doesn't feel emotionally safe. So if she doesn't feel emotionally safe, how can she genuinely be happy in the environment she's in? That's no different like the childhood story Rapunzel. Remember, Rapunzel was in the tower and all she wanted was her prince to come and she would sit out in the window as long, and that's why her hair got long. She had been sitting up there so long, she could not wrap her head around the thought that, well, maybe if I just walk down the stairs and do me, the door was always unlocked. Same thing with you, King. Why are you accepting bad behavior? Because her breasts are perky? Because she knows how to twerk? Because her face is appealing to the eye, or because you like the way she sways when she walks around you, and you just like, I'm just gonna live out my Pornhub fantasies. I know that's abrasive, but I gotta be honest with some of y'all because put some of y'all ransom your happiness and demarginalize it based off of your sexual energy that you have. Oh, um, I ain't gonna be with Charlie because, I got a type. But little do you know, if Charlie's handling his business, if Charlie truly understands who he is, the little boy that still exists in him, he puts the Most High first in his decision making. That might be the one that will give you the right to take on his legacy known as his last name. But if you let the naysayers tell you, they want you, they want to shade you by, well, how many bodies you got? Really? That's what we doing? We're counting, we're counting sexual partners. So what about the people that have been with over 300 people? Oh, you gravitate to them because they have a mystique, they have experience. But guess what? You realize how many people that have an abundance of sexual experiences are lonely, they're emotionally depleted, they're numb, and it is nothing, there's no pleasure in the act. It is just something to do. Who am I talking to? But then birds of a feather flock together. So your circle is not going to tell you what you need to hear. They're going to tell you what you want to hear so that you stick around. And it validates their behavior to continue. Well, who she thinks she is. My ass is fat, and I can get him, and I can get him. He married, I know he wouldn't, but I could still get some bread out of him. And then we wonder why people come up missing. We wonder why there's a big ass wall in Wally World when you go to customer service and you look over to your left and you see all those beautiful faces that nobody knows where they're at. Come on, who am I talking to? Or this. Your sexual appetite is so ferocious. It's not because of the stimulation that you want, but it's the behavior that you've come to know, and you know that there's something missing, so you go through the motions anyway. Well, I've never had that, but he's paying my bills, so I'm just gonna play. Do you know that's the greatest slap in the face you could ever? That's like somebody spitting in your face. You do know that, right? And that's another reason why the typical man has no desire to make you his wife. But you allow the people in the cheap seats to convince you, no, you ain't got to do that. Get you a new bag. And what I mean by bag, I mean new approach. Maybe you need to be a boss up. Maybe you just need to be more aggressive and they'll chase you. Okay. Meanwhile, the escapades get longer. It's just like somebody that has an addiction. You start off right here, but eventually it gets bleak. You up it some, meaning you get more risque. But that don't work. Next thing you know, the things that you would never do, you're doing twice on Sunday. Why? Because you're searching for yourself. You're searching for a way to fill that void in your heart. You're saying there's got to be a better way. I don't. Why am I indulging in this behavior when I feel so? I don't want to use the term dirty, but just put like they do in the movies. You see that one woman, she's in the shower and she's trying to scrub herself clean. But what she wants to scrub, she can't get to because it's within herself. It's within her soul. It's within her being. It's what's defining her whole existence. Who am I talking to? Hold that thought. Okay, I'm back. Had to use the restroom. Think about it. Look at it socially. Why do you think there's so much emphasis on promoting your sexual liberation? Why do you think there's so much a push on all when it comes to social media? They even convince you like less is more. Put more weight on your physicality and not your emotions. But we won't see that, right? Nah, she gotta have a dump truck. She gotta be perky. She gotta have a face like made out of porcelain. We want her out there. We need that because we want clicks and likes. But what they won't tell you is the deeper you go, the greater the probability is you won't be nobody's mama. They're trying to convince you to self-destruct by your own means. Why? They don't take accountability. They're not going to be there when your health starts to turn on you and say, I'm sorry, Mrs. Jenkins, you have an STD. You got to take pills now. Or worse. I'm sorry, Miss Jenkins, you're sterile. You can always adopt, though. Kings, they do the same thing to you, too. They say, hey, what you don't know, just go on up there on the search engine, get all the porn you want. You can learn that way because you didn't have sexual education. You didn't have you didn't have the proper conversation with that person that had influence with you. So they know that 50% of your sexual knowledge is learned by what you see, not what you know. And then they wonder why your sperm count is low. You're wondering why you've got STDs. Ain't nothing wrong with my sperm count. Okay. Did you know most people get pregnant when their body and mind is in balance? But most people will never find love until the right person comes along. And usually 9 times out of 10, it is not what they envision what love would be presented as. I ain't trying to throw no shade, but some of y'all know this. Some of y'all in the back of your mind have an image of what love looks like because they're not in your life no more. And you've been on this emotional treadmill of countless people trying to recreate what it felt like when you had them. Who am I talking to? But I'm gonna tell you this, because I would be very remiss not to say this. If this is you and you feel the one you missed it, right? Number one, just know this. If they genuinely cared about you, if they genuinely loved you, and I'm talking about the ones that turned every stone, they were the epitome of the committed partner. That one. Just know, even though you're not with them anymore, they still want you to be happy. They still want you to be happy. They hope that you will do the work so that one day you'll be also able to smile again. To also be able to feel emotionally free. You can't feel emotionally free if you don't feel emotionally safe. Who am I talking to? Well, you tell that boss chick, you ask that boss chick, she said, I don't know what you're talking about, but as long as I got this iron, I'm safe. Okay. You tell that to your nightmares. You tell that to your psyche when you have those triggers come up or choices missed. You convince yourself of that. That's why so many people walk around miserable. That's why you got so many people, unfortunately, that are strung out. Or you may know them as emotionally checked out. They're not here. They're disconnected from reality. You may know them as they gone. Why? Because there was a pain so endured, so strong, that on this physical realm, They felt they were incapable of being able to face it. Don't you realize whatever fear that you have will always remain until you have the courage to face it, to acknowledge it? Because when you are able to acknowledge what is broken, the sting, the sting is removed slowly because awareness of that said wound is there. And your body, your mind will force you. I mean, who am I talking to? You know that. You can't even, if somebody even remotely talks about it, it sets you off. So what do? You dabble in behaviors that are deemed your medicine. It's just a temporary distraction. You know, it's just what I need for now just to get by. Meanwhile, you're looking at the ceiling. Meanwhile, you're looking at your pocket. Meanwhile, you having a conversation with yourself behind the steering wheel when you're alone, trying to figure it out. Take accountability of what you saw. It might not have been your fault per se, but there was still a role in it. And it could have been you gave access to the wrong person. They wasn't worth it. They wasn't worthy of the responsibility needed to hold your heart. Who am I talking to? Meanwhile, you feel a certain kind of way because your sexual drives are not in sync. So you feel a certain kind of way because you're feeling that I'm doing everything I can, but it's never enough. Pause that. That's not your fault. You got the wrong flyer. You didn't see the small print. And because you didn't see the small print, the red flags were not visible. But guess what? I don't wish bad on nobody. But there's no such thing as getting away with proverbial murder, indiscretions, choices made that were not of your best interest. No. You know what happens? They sit right there on your back until you're willing to address it. Why do you think people have nervous breakdowns? Why do you think people are bipolar? Because they don't have the tools to have the conversation. Why do you think people are out here acting barbaric? Because they're afraid to embrace the truth. Do you not see that? Do you not understand that? Because there's nothing in life is for free. Please believe that. Please believe that. There's a price to be you. But the question that should be asked is this: will you? Will you allow yourself to have what you deserve? Because if you don't, you'll end up with the same fate as so many people. Broken, alone, looking back at life, saying, coulda, shoulda, woulda. That's not your story, King. Stop marginalizing your economic placement based off of your emotional foundation. Focus on you. Why do you think narcissists exist? Narcissists exist because they don't take accountability of nothing. That's like a proverbial bull in the china shop. If it break, it break. Shame on them. Until they mess around and cut themselves, then it's victim city. I can't believe you did that. I can't believe you turned around and tried to poison me. I can't believe you got your brothers involved. How did I get here? You crazy. Hurt people attract hurt people. I mean, listen, I can't wait. In a couple weeks, I'm going to do a video to conclude the end of this year and usher in the new. And that video is going to talk about the things you should do, the things you need to look forward to, all the setbacks, disappointments, regrets that were demonstrated this year. You need to make peace with that. You need to. Because I'm going to tell you what, you've always heard me say, ain't nothing worse than somebody doing time in their mind. Which, in other words, why are you holding pain and anguish about someone and they can never relate because it's not their emotions. It's their effect. But, I heard someone say this, and it was very, very eye-opening for me. And they said, when people search for closure, that's when those people need to search for themselves more. I'm paraphrasing it. But closure is not for them. But forgiveness is for you. That is the skeleton key to your happiness. You know that, right? You have some people like, oh, we went our separate ways. I don't mess with him no more. But those be the same people behind the scenes. They're like, they doing immature stuff. Picking up the phone, calling, just to hear their voice. Jumping on their social media just to see what they doing. Or worse, risking their freedom by acting out. I'll show him, I'm going to cut his tires, or I'm going to tear up his clothes, or I'm going to take my gifts back that I gave her. I'll show her. The best way to show anybody is for you to focus on yourself. Because when it gets to that point, all you're doing is indirectly boosting their ego. And you become their entertainment. Because if they valued you, they wouldn't put you in harm's way. We see this sprayed out on social media all the time. And they turn around and act like they don't know them. But that was the same person that you shared that interlude with. That was that same person you made a memory with. That was that same person you had that conversation that titillated what they thought was their soul. I've said enough. I've said a lot. But just know this. Until you decide to do the work, allow yourself the true process of introspection to reflect for where you were, where you are, envision where you're going, and having the ability to accept that not everybody's going to have access. And it's not to be cruel. Excuse me. It's part of your growth. Think of it this way. You know how I used to always use the analogy emotional backpack? Some of y'all been carrying that backpack ever since you was a little kid. Some of you have taken those experiences and used that as a tool to navigate your adulthood. And so I'm going to say this to y'all. Listen. Some of y'all, more than ever, need to reconnect with your parents. And I say that for two reasons. Number one, we forget that without them would not be you. And with that, we overlook the fact that they were you at some point of their lives. It just depends on the influence that had influence on their steps of who they became. Now listen, because I'm not trying to babble. As long as you live, there's work to be done when it comes to finding who you are. Some of you might be terrified of your outcome being like your upbringing. I don't want to be like my mama. She's miserable. I can't even talk to her because she bringing up shit from the past. But she won't take accountability for the shit she did. Or worse, I don't want to talk to my dad because he wasn't in my life. He was never there for me. But I'm going to tell you what. Some of y'all might not realize or have the courage to ask why your father wasn't there. Do you realize? I don't know why I feel like I have to say that. Some of you, if your parents are still alive, you are doing yourself a disservice, because that should be the time that whatever that little girl in you is still crying for their daddy to come back, crying to have access to a life that they thought they were deprived from because daddy wasn't there. But be prepared for what is discussed. Now I'm going to tell you this. Most men that were blessed with a daughter, first of all, even though I don't care if he was out there in the streets, I don't care. You will always be the apple of his eye. Just like Superman had kryptonite, you are the kryptonite. When it comes to you, he would be willing to give up his last breath just so that you could smile again. So some of y'all might be like this. Well, I'm in this relationship out of rebellion because of what I saw in my life, and I can do it better, but you're still in the same plight that your parents were in, and the probability you're just hanging on out of pride and desperation. So you're holding yourself hostage from your heart. But I'm gonna tell you what you don't want to do is be like some of these people. They had the ability to have access to their parents, and God called them home, and they never got that time to reset. You hear it all the damn time. I was mad. And them same people that say I was mad at, they're even more hurt because now they don't have them no more. Do not be so naive. Because by you choosing, because you say, well, fuck him or fuck her, excuse my friends, because that's how some of y'all think. I don't need them, they were never there. But until you understand the reason why, because most parents, unless they're truly broken themselves, they're not going to lie to you. They're going to tell you what it was. And it may change your perspective, or it may melt your heart to the point of understanding. And that may change the paradigm of what you may have been exposed to. Because most children are not privileged what is true. It becomes a popularity contest out of convenience. My dad would never do that to me because of this. My mama wouldn't do that to me, but then you come to find out they weren't thinking about you. They were thinking about their selfish needs. And they were ransoming your emotional development. Anyway, I've said enough for now. I would love to get your thoughts. If you're feeling what I'm saying, thumbs up. But in conclusion, family, find my name on Patreon, subscribe, get in early. Get yourself registered in there early. Subscribe to my stuff because a lot of the new content is going to go there. Like I said, I also have a Vimeo account. I do have an Instagram account as well. I'm on there, and from time to time I